When I think back to starting to give to the United Catholic Appeal or even for my weekly giving at church, I think it all began after I got married. We got married in 1987. I personally, the year before we were married, was struggling kind of financially. I had student loans. I was a first-year teacher, which they don't make a whole lot of money. But I decided to start giving at church, and I can't remember the amount I gave, but it was painful, I thought. And yet, once I did it and was in the middle of it, things were working out. I mean, it just happened. And so since then, I've not really had much concern about giving. Things always seem to work out. The United Catholic Appeal distributes, throughout the Archdiocese. It's not just for St. Gabriel. What we do may benefit others as well.
The United Catholic Appeal is so important because there are so many ministries and services that an individual or an individual parish or an individual group in a parish can't do on their own. Our parish here at St. Peter and Paul Cathedral consistently reaches our United Catholic Appeal goal and beyond. And I think that's because our parishioners are able to see up close the work of the Archdiocese. All of that work that sometimes we see and sometimes we don't see is supported by the United Catholic Appeal. It's easy to take those ministries for granted and that work for granted, but for every ministry that we experience or take part of, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that happens to organize and set it on the right path, and the United Catholic Appeal supports that work well.
The formation of new priests, the needy, things that I'm not even aware of probably, but they're all good things to be involved with. So we don't have any trouble at all contributing on an annual basis to the United Catholic Appeal.
I have experienced a number of deaths in my family. Sister-in-law, a week later, my mother, 8 months later, my daughter, and then 3 months later, my wife. It took a lot of energy out of me, but knowing my faith and knowing that they were buried properly according to their wishes, it's immensely huge to me. My mom was an inspiration to me. She was the youngest of 10 children. She was raised Catholic. Her faith was important to her. So much of her childhood, every day was in fear of, where's our next meal going to come from? How long are we going to live? Fear that they weren't going to be able to pay for their own funerals. And that was just one of the biggest things. She just said, what if we can't afford to be buried by name?
In our funeral rites, we focus on a person's baptism. And at their baptism, a person is given their name at the end of their life. We as a community are sending them home by name and facilitating the ritual by which God calls them home by name.
After I moved to the cathedral in 2013, I started working at the soup kitchen, and Mom would come and visit, because by that time Dad had passed away, and she would help in the soup kitchen. When Mom saw all of the homeless people, she asked, what happens when they die? She was just so worried about, as she was getting older, knowing that, not everybody can afford a funeral. So what happens to these homeless people when they die? And they said most of them are going to end up in paupers' graves. No names, no ashes, no place for people to go visit and see their loved one by name. And she cried. And I said, I think that if we start a program that will help support that, we won't start it until after you pass away, but knowing that we are going to help people be buried it a proper way with a name so that their loved ones can go visit them. I have seen and received more coming into me than I think I have given out. And it inspires me to give even more and more of myself to help those in need. I've honored Mom, her faith, her faith tradition, and her wishes to the best of my ability. I have full confidence that now in her new life, she knows what's going on and would be happy that something is moving forward. Not that it's about her, it's about the people we're serving.
I'd say if you're giving any thought to setting up an endowment or giving to United Catholic Appeal, try to realize that it's for a good cause, that things will work out, you're going to be fine, and don't worry about that. Just leave it in God's hands.